Hi fellow webflowers! In this tutorial I will show you how to build these 5 buttons so you can use them in your next project or create new ideas from it. Of course, I will also provide you with a clonable so you can save them for later. So without further ado, let's get into it. And here you can see how our first button will look like. So we click on our button inner and add a link block, and we give it a class of button1. And here we set display flex, align center, and justify center. Next we give it a width of 70 em and also a height of 70 em. And then we give it a color, a text color. Here, and we just choose white. And then we give it a border radius of 999 pixels. And next we drop an embed field here, and I've prepared some SVG code and I've replaced the color here with the current color. We put the position on absolute and give it a Z index of 2. And next we give it a background color, so almost black, and we rotate it with 45 degrees or minus 45 degrees, and now you can see this little arrow icon here. So next is that I'm adding a div and I give it a class button underscore background. This one gets a width of 100% and also a height of 100%. And position absolute as well. And a Z index of 1 because I want to have it in the background. Next I go here and give it this color. So this atomic green. And a border radius also of 999 pixels. Now I have to choose the parent and just drop it in there and switch the position of the parent to relative. So next is, I forgot to give a class to the HTML embed. I rename it to button underscore icon. And I can see instead of the background color, I'm going to give it to the text color, because then my current color kicks in, as you can see now. Next I choose the parent and I'm just pasting this button underscore letter wrap. And you can see I have some text color applied here, and in there's all the single buttons, and they are display block, and each letter is rotated with a difference of 25 degrees between each letter. Now let's select the parent and set up the interaction. So the first one is the hover interaction. Start animation. Let's call it button 1 hover in. And let's select the button letter wrap. And we need to change the size. So let's choose initial state here and give it a width of 40 em and as well a height of 40 em. Let's just duplicate this one and give it a width and height of 12 em. And duration of 0.65 seconds, and as an animation or easing out back. So now you can see what's happening. Now let's select the background and also give it a size animation. Let's drop that here so it also gets initial state, and give it a width of 100% and also height of 100%. Duplicate that and give it a duration of 0.3 seconds and out back easing, and decrease it to 85% width and height. Now duplicate it again, drag it here, again, Now it works. and increase it to 100%. And with a duration of 0.65, and outback is just fine. Let's see it, and now you can see it looks like the button spits out the letters. Now let's copy that first animation, and on hover out, we choose as second one. We rename it to hover out. And now you can delete all other actions here and just use the first one. Give it a delay of 0.1, and we choose in back here. We save it, and let's have a preview look. You can see what's happening. And now we need another animation on page load. Start animation, and we create a new one, and we call it button text, or button 1 text rotation. And we are animating a rotate here. So change target, it needs to be button letter wrap, and duration 0 and 0%. On the Z axis, duplicate it. Now we choose 30 seconds and 360 degrees, and we duplicate the first one and drag it down. And that's just fine. All we need to do is save and set loop. And now if you go to preview, you can see our text is constantly rotating, and that's our first button. And by the way, if you want to become a top-notch Webflow developer, then subscribe to my channel. I publish frequently new content around Webflow, Figma, and creative business. But let's get back to the second button. Here you can see how our second button will look like. So we start by adding a link block, and I give the link block the class button2. Then I add a text block, and here I change the text to get started. Then I choose the parent and add another div block, and this one gets the class button2 icon wrap. Here I add an image, and this image gets the class button icon, and I have an image prepared here, and I give it a width of 1.5 em. Then I choose the parent and give it a width and height of 3 em, display flex, align center, and justify center, and a border radius of 99 pixels, and a border of 1 pixel and white color, and a background color of white as well. Now I select the button 2, and we set this to position relative. Then give it display flex, align center, and a padding of 2 em on the left and 2 em on the right for now, and a min height of 4 em, and also a border radius of 99 pixels, and a background color, a dark gray. And you can see the circle is not there where it should be, so we set it to position absolute. Then we select the button again, and we set it to justify start, and the rest we do with some custom code for the animation. I already have it in here. I just take away the comment, and we save it, and now you can see we moved everything over. I will go over the code with you in just a couple of seconds, but before we have to change the padding here to 4.5. That's it. So let's talk about the custom code we are using here. So we target the button to icon wrap here, and you can see on the left I have a calculation. It gets pushed to the right by 100% minus 0.5 em. So that's the little distance you can see here. It's a little bit hard to see because I hover over it. And we also give it a translate X, so it's correctly positioned. Because if we would take it out, it would stand over the button. And the last one is a transition here. We are making an animation on all items, and the last value, cubic Bezier, is an easing, a custom easing I've used here. Then something happens when we hover over the button. It gets moved to left 0.5 EM, so we are taking out the 100%. And we change also the translate X to 0 and the background color. And all of those get animated. You can see this is happening here. It's moving to the left and the background color is changing. So the next one is the text. Per default, the position is relative. It's left 0% or at 0. And we have the same transition and animation speed here. Then on hover, we change the position on the text. We push it to the left by 3.5 EM. And you can also see this is happening here. We just literally switch the position of the button and the circle. So, and the last one is the button icon that we are targeting here. And we are using a CSS filter invert. So the default is 0. That means the icon will stay black. You can see the arrow icon, it was black. And on hover, we turn it to invert 100. So we invert black to white, also with the transition we used before. And here you can see the final result. So let's start with the third button. So here you can see the result of the third button. And we start by adding a link block with the class of button3. And then we add a div, and this gets the class button3 text wrap, and then a text block, and this one gets button text. I changed the text to read case study. And then I add an embed field. Here I have prepared some custom code, and I changed the width and height to 40. And I've modified here a current color. Now I add a class with button3 text wrap around it. I give it display flex and with a gap of 0.75 EM and set it to align center. Then I give it a color of white. And I select the button3 class and give it display flex, align center, and justify end. Then I give it a padding of 1.25 EM, top and bottom, and 1.75 EM, left and right. Then I turn it to overflow hidden and position relative. Give it a dark gray background color and a border radius of 99 pixels. Sometimes overflow hidden doesn't work when you animate a child, so I gave it this custom class here, will change transform. This especially is needed on older Safari versions. Then I add another div, give this button3 background, give it a background color of white and position absolute and a width and height of 100%. Then left is 0 and we push it to the top, not 50% but 100. Then I select the button text wrap, duplicate it, and give the first one the combo class is 1 and the second one the combo class is 2. The second one we give position absolute and a Z index of 1 and a color of very dark gray. and we turn the opacity to 0. Then we do the same on the button icons. We give them a is1 and as2 class because we will need this for the animation. Then we select the button 3 class and go to interactions, choose element trigger mouse hover, start a new animation and create one and call it button 3 hover in. Select button text wrap and choose scale as an action. Then we also add already move. We set here initial state and drag the second one on the first one so it becomes also initial state. Then on scale we give 0.8 and on move we move it by 200%. So it gets moved actually out of the button. We adjust it to 220. Then we select the button icon, give it a move as well. We drag it so it becomes initial state. And we move it by 200% on the x-axis so it gets just pushed to the right. Then we select the background and we give it a move. And this time it's not initial state, so we give it an easing of out quart. And we move it up by, or down by 100%. We moved it up before. And I select those two, I duplicate it and drag them to the button. And I give them a delay of 0.1 seconds and a duration of 0.4 and an easing. Let's take out expo. Then we select move and move it to 0%. So that brings our text back to the center. And we select the scale and we change it back to 1. Then we add another one, an opacity, because it's still invisible. And we give the same delay, duration, and also alt expo, and we turn the opacity to 100%. And the last one is the button icon. We move this back also with an easing of out expo. And we move it back to 0. So let's see how it looks. Here you can see the beginning of our effect. Let's save that. And let's create the move out animation. We choose a new one because it will be different. We call it button 3 hover out. And we select the first button text wrap. Make a move on it. And also add a scale. We drag them on each other, but this time they won't have initial state. That's why we give them, but we give them a duration of 0. And the first one we move down by minus 200%. And on scale we choose 0.8. Then we select the first button icon and also make a move, drag them on the other one so they start all at the same time, give them a timing or duration of 0% and minus 200%. Then we choose the second button text wrap, and this one we give a scale of 0.8 and an easing this time, out quart. Then also a move. We drag it on the first one. We choose an easing, out quart, and we move it up by 200%. Then we choose the button icon. And move it by 200%. And choose out quart for the easing. Then the background. Let's choose out quart for the animation. and we push it back to the top by 200%. Then I select the 3 first ones, duplicate them, and drag them down to the button background. Select the move and give it a duration of 0.5. Choose out quart for the easing and turn the value to 0%. The second one, the scale, just do the same one, out quart and 0.5%, and turn it back to 1. And the button icon, we give it a duration of 0.5 and also out quart, and we bring it back to its initial position. Then let's save it and have a look at it. You can see something is not timed, so let's get back to our timeline. Yeah, and I can see I have to choose this one and drag them up, so they happened with the animation block before. And now you can see this is our second button, and you can still see the text on the bottom a little bit. So let's add an opacity to the second text wrap. Choose 0.3 and also out quart and turn it down to 0%. Save, and let's test it again. Okay, looks great. So that's our third button. And here we see our fourth button. We start by adding a link block, and we give it the class of button 4. Next, we add a div, and we give this div the class button 4 circle. And then we add an image in the circle. I have prepared the image here, and we give this image the class button 4 icon. Next, we select the button 4 and we add a text block. This text block gets button 4 text as a class. Then I change the text to something like "Let's talk." And then I select the button 4 circle. And I'm going to give it display flex, align center, and justify center. And a width of, let's try 3.5 EM, and also height 3.5 EM. Then we give it a green background color. Yeah, something like this, and a border radius of 99 pixels. That's fine. And this icon needs to be larger, so let's try 1.5 EM, and that looks great. And also a height of 1.5 EM. Then we select the button again, and let's set it to display flex, align center, and justify start, and a gap of 1 EM. And we give it a height of 3.5 EM, so it matches the height of the circle. And next we give it a padding. Let's try 1.75 EM, but only on the right. And we set it to position relative for our background. This is going to get our background button for background is the class. And this one we set to position absolute. We give it a height of 100% and a width of 0%. Now you can see it stays on the left. And we give it the same color than our circle. And now you can see if I increase the width, what is going to happen. It's like filling our button. So let's put it to something like 40, and let's select the button circle and give it a position relative and a set index of 1. So is in front of our background, and the same for the text. Also Z index 1. And now you can see that the background is behind the circle and the text. Now let's select the button 4 and give it an overflow hidden and also a border radius of 99 pixels. And now you can see that we have our radius, and if we increase the width of the background, you can see the end result of our button. And now we can start the interaction. So let's choose mouse hover, start a new animation. Let's call it button 4 hover in. Let's select our button text and give it a text color animation. And let's select our button background and give it a size. And also the button icon. This will get a move. And now we can select all 4 and check set as initial state. Now they all 4 are initial state. Let's change the color to white. And the width of the background to 0%. And the button icon, we move it with 0 EM at the beginning. Let's duplicate that and give it an easing of out circ. Duration of 0.5 seconds is okay. And let's change the text color duration to 0.3 or 0.2. And give it a text color of black. And the icon, we will move on the x-axis by 0.5 EM. And the button background, the width, we change it to 100%. And let's see, now you can see that it works. So let's set up the hover out animation. We start a new animation. We duplicate the hover in animation. We select it and rename it to hover out. Then we can delete these 3 ones. We select all and uncheck set as initial state and give it an easing of out circ. We select the background and turn it back to a width of 0%. And we also move the button icon. And now you can see what is happening when I hover in and hover out. But just one thing is missing. You can see that the background still has corners. We have to give the background also a border radius of 99%. And now our 4th button is ready. So in here you can see the result of our last button. And we start by adding a link block. And we give this link block the class of button 5. Then we add a div and give it the class of button 5 inner. Next, a text block. This one gets the class button 5 text. And I change the text to something like get in touch today. We select the button 5 and give it another div block. And this gets the class button 5 gradient. Let's select the button again and give it display flex, align center and justify center, and a padding of 1 pixel for now, overflow hidden and position relative, and a white background with an opacity of 20%. Then we select the button 5 inner, and we also give it display flex, align center and justify center, and we give it a padding of 1.25 EM on the top and bottom, and on the right 1.75 EM. Then we select the button 5 again and give it a border radius of 99 pixels. And let's select the button 5 gradient. And let's start with the background. Let's give it a radial gradient, and I'm just choosing some colors here. Maybe something like this. Then in the middle, we take a light blue, and on the right, let's take a yellow. Then let's add a filter, a blur filter. We go with 50 pixels or something like that. And let's give it a width of 15 EM and height of 15 EM. And give it position absolute. And yeah, that's fine for now. And a radius of 999 pixels. Let's select the button 5 inner, and this one also gets position relative and a Z index of 1. So the text is in front of our gradient, and a pretty dark background, and also an opacity of 80%. Now you can see how it will look like. And my padding here is not right. We have to increase it a little bit. Let's take an EM value, something like this. And the button inner also needs the same border radius, so 99 pixels. And now you can see our fake border. And now let's select the button and make the animation. So create a new trigger, mouse move over element, play mouse animation, and let's create a new animation. Let's call it button 5 mouse hover. Let's select the gradient and give it a move. And on the x-axis, we start with minus 80% or 90%, and then up to plus 90%. And on the y-axis, we also give it a move. And we start with something like minus 60% and end with 60%. Then we save it. And now you can see when I hover, this gradient follows my mouse, but when the mouse leaves the button, it goes a little bit quick back to the center, so we can just turn up the smoothing. Now it's on 65%, and you can see it's much smoother. You can play around with these values. And one thing I want to change with the button 5 inner, I want to have it darker, so let's try something like 95% for the alpha channel. And yeah, I think that looks great. And that's our 5th and last button. So I hope these 5 buttons inspired you. Leave me a comment and tell me which one you like the most. And if you want to learn what custom code snippet I use in almost each project to build a custom scroll animation on the main navigation, you can watch this video now. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay in the flow.